How to create a Pokeball in Blender. Step 1. Create a UV sphere and change its segments value to 16 and rings value to 8. Then rotate it on the x-axis at 90 degrees. Select the center triangulated faces and delete them. On the front part of the sphere, select the circular center edges and extrude new faces on their scale and close the gap by pressing F. In edit mode, select the centered faces, turn on proportional editing, and move it forward to regain a spherical shape. On the back part of the sphere, connect the vertices back together as such. Make sure all new faces are quads so the sphere won't mess up when subdivided into a smoother shape. Then, just like in the front part, grab the centered vertex and pull it forward with proportional editing turned on to regain a spherical shape. Now grab all of the middle edges except the last two on the back, which will act as hinges for the Pokeball. Don't forget to also select the bottom half edges of the front circle and press V to separate the edges from each other. This will allow you to rotate the top independently from the bottom. Let's give it a quick test, and perfect. Step 2. Now to create the top and bottom casings of the Pokeball. Begin by selecting the middle circle in edit mode and press P to separate it from the mesh. We'll model that into the button later. Then select the entire top portion with the shortcut L and duplicate it with Shift D. Scale it on its normals, then add a loop cut in the center to trim it down. Then another cut around the circumference of the casing to raise its edge up a bit. To make it easier, I added a material to each new part and gave it a color in the material's viewport display settings. For the bottom casing, duplicate the top one and rotate it around 180 degrees. Next up, model the middle button as such. You'll be mainly using the extrude and bevel tools. Then add a subdivision modifier to each part. Also, I creased the edges of the four corners of the middle circular gap to maintain its perfect circular shape. Once modeling is done, I add a solidify modifier to add some thickness. Pro tip, when smoothing meshes meant for hard surface modeling such as a Pokeball, always choose the auto smooth feature to keep the smoothing sharp. Step 3. Now that we're done with modeling, let's tackle shading. For the top part, I begin by changing the base color to red. I'll also increase the metallic property up to 1. To add some details to the texture, I'll add a noise texture and press Ctrl T with it selected to add a mapping in texture coordinate node. Enable the node wrangler in your preferences for the Ctrl T shortcut to work. Choose object for the texture coordinate node and scale it down on the y-axis. Adjust the black and white levels with a color ramp node. Adjust the noise details to your liking and connect it to the roughness value. Also add a bump node, connect the noise's color ramp to it, and connect the bump node into the normal socket. Do the same for the other parts, but don't forget to add some variation to your noise texture just to make sure they don't look all the same. For the button, you'll notice I added a rim light around the edge. To do that, in edit mode, select the rim faces, create a new material, and assign the material to these faces. Now you could just add an emission shader and call it a day, but what I did was I created a seam for the entire face of the button, and I added a spherical gradient node and adjusted its position and size with the mapping node. I then added fading colors with the color ramp node just to add a little bit more depth. And that is how you create a Pokeball in 3D in Blender. Thank you for watching. Peace.